Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're having a good week so far. This is a Snowflake's talk with review or looking to the Green Party Manifesto for 2024. The date and time of this is the 13th of June at 8 p.m. UK time. Just for reference, because I know some people are obviously keen on the election debate. Obviously, if you guys want to go and watch that, you're more than welcome to if you're watching this live. Come back to this because I will be covering it tomorrow. Tomorrow, Friday at 12 p.m. I will be covering it there. So if you guys want to watch along with me there, you're more than welcome to. But tonight I'll be covering the Green Party Manifesto. We are dual streaming on YouTube and Twitch.tv. We are dual streaming across both platforms as well. I did have a YouTube poll in the chat, but for some reason it wouldn't work. And I lost the chat on the screen, so I had to refresh it. So I don't know why. I didn't have enough time to write it again, so I've had to leave it. Why is the orb not? The orb is there and back on and empowered as well. Yeah, very quiet night tonight. So I've already had a look at, I've had a quick glance at the Labour Party manifesto. I've had a quick glance of it. I haven't had much time to go through it. I will go through it at some point next week. I'm not going to be able to do it tomorrow, and I'm certainly not going to be able to do it over the weekend. So what I will probably do is I will split it in two halves and do one part and one half one day and half another day is what I think will be the best course of action I think I'll do in terms of that. So let's have a look at the this manifesto. So I've had a look at it, a bit of it already, and it doesn't look like some of it that I've looked at so far. It doesn't look like it's a real while it's not as comprehensive and detailed like we say like the Conservatives Party manifesto or the Lib Dems. It does have a lot of bullet points of saying of what it plans to do. But there's a lot of things like I don't know in terms enough about the detail of things in there. Austerity manifesto. Are you referring to the Conservative one? You can watch I have recorded earlier today the Conservative manifesto. I spent about 2 hours, just under 2 hours doing it. I skipped a lot of it, to be fair, as well. But if you want to know what I found in it and what I thought of it, and share some of my thoughts, you can check that out on Sunday. It's a premiere video. I've done it as a premiere video. It's not worth live streaming the Conservative Manifesto, but I did do that one because I felt a duty to do so. But I'm going to live stream the Greens Party one, and I'm definitely going to live stream the Labour Party manifesto, whether it's a half stream or a full one. I haven't decided yet, but we'll see anyway. So Juice the Gaming, good to see you there, and Stu Viker President, good to see you there as well. I expect it to be a quiet night tonight because most people will be watching the debate, and I will the debate, but I'm going to be watching that later. But this is what I've been wanting to look at. Let's have a read about what they're possibly going to be doing for the country if they get any kind of power, which we know they won't, but it's still interesting to see. So millions of people in our country are feeling insecure and deeply worried about the future. We live in one of the richest countries on the planet, yet nurses are using food banks, our children's schools are crumbling, a roof over our heads is all too often unaffordable, and hospitals and dentist appointments are like gold dust. Meanwhile, the climate emergency continues to accelerate. Scientists warn that we are currently on track for global temperatures set to rise by at least 2.5 degrees Celsius, far beyond levels at which humanity can survive safely. Our promise to you is that all this can change. We can create a greener, fairer country together, one in which we are all safer, happier, and more fulfilled. We will take MPs prepared to make very brave, principled choices on your behalf, and we'll take all the kinds of politics set out in our manifesto for which elected Green MPs will fight hard every single day for you. Voting Green on July the 4th is your way of showing you believe in a greener, fairer, and world is possible, and it is worth fighting for. So the first one we'll start in is providing fairer, greener homes for all. So what are they saying here? So everyone needs a warm, secure, affordable home, yet millions of people don't have this most basic building block of a happy and successful life. Over 1 million households are on council lists, waiting more than 130,000 children are growing up in temporary accommodation. Our Homes Right Place, Right Price Charter. So local authorities and national government, we need to work together to deliver homes people can afford to rent and buy, where people need them. Our rights home, right place, right price. A charter will simultaneously protect vulnerable green spaces for communities, reduce climate emissions, tackle fuel poverty, and provide genuine affordable housing. It would require local authorities to spread small development areas across the area, require all new developments to be accomplished by an extra investment needed in local health, transport, and other services, and ensuring all new homes meet pacifist or equivalent standards of house building, including solar panels and heat pumps on all new homes where appropriate. So they're saying all house building needs to include solar panels. That's an interesting one there. So really pushing the emphasis. Heat pumps, yep, I totally agree with. But that's a bit of a stretch to tell these homes that you have to build all solar panels. I mean, that's the thing I would love to see in the future. All the homes having solar panels. That would be the best. That would be the best thing. The most ideal thing. I just don't think you'll be able to push something like that. Push that enough on people. If I'm honest, but I like the ambition with it regardless. Fairer, greener homes guarantee. So our energy bills are far too high because we have the worst insulated homes in Europe. We're bringing down bills by reducing the loss of heat from homes because cheaper bills isn't the one you don't have to pay. Elected Greens will push for a local authority-led street-by-street retrofit program to insulate our homes, providing clean heat and to start to adapt our buildings to more extreme climate conditions. This would mean investment of £29 billion over the next 5 years to insulate homes to an EPC-B standard or above as part of a 10-year program. $4 billion over the next 5 years to insulate other buildings to a higher standard, and $9 billion over the next 5 years for low carbon heat systems, for example, heat pumps for homes and other buildings. So £29 billion is a lot of money to insulate. That's a lot of homes to insulate. But this is over a 5-year period as well. I think that's also the important context there. But this plan, obviously, they want to push to insulate more homes. This is something that, like I said, I haven't read the Labour manifesto, so obviously when it comes to it, I'll read it. But this is something that should be guaranteed, as it says that every single home that is built from now on should have insulation. All the homes that we have already, if they're not insulated, they should be insulated, and there should be They need to be pushing incentives for the homes that we have to have insulation required to protect vulnerable people, especially from the cold and that. And it keeps, and like it said, it keeps energy bills down. So it makes logical sense to keep those energy bills down. So I don't see why this is an issue. Obviously, there is a cost, obviously, to that anyway. So the low carbon heating system, i.e. heat pumps, again, this is, to obviously, in the long term, this will save a lot of people money. In the long term, in the short term, there's a cost to this, but in the long term, it will benefit people in terms of installation and whatnot. Are my comments working? Yes, they are working, Terry. I was having a problem with the live chat earlier, but it seems to be fixed now. So the other one here, they got 150,000 new social homes each year. So we pledge to provide 150,000 new social homes every year through a new build and purchase refurbishment of older housing stock, a community right to buy for local authorities for several categories for property, and ending the individual right to buy to keep social homes for local communities in perpetuity. So this is obviously a push more towards social housing, which I think we need more of that. We don't need more high-end, high-rich skyscrapers and whatnot, because while it's great, it's obviously great for the big cities that can have them, but for the rural areas, for some of the towns, the middle and low incomes, people need these social homes. These houses are really, really important for people. We definitely have a housing crisis. 150,000 homes each year, so that's how many? So if that's within 5 years, what's that? 3, 4, 5. That's what, more than 1 million. I think that's like more than 1 million homes in 5 years. So it's not. But this is just social homes, they've said here. So it's not about any other houses. If they were to go through. Wolfpet, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. In that one. So a fair deal for renters. So millions of private renters face unaffordable rents and consistent insecurity. So Green MPs will push for rent control so local authorities can control rents if the rental market is unaffordable for many local people. A new stable rental tendency to end the no-fault eviction, so tenants are secure in their homes and they don't have to have their lives turned upside down on the whim of their landlords. We will also introduce a tenant's right to demand energy efficiency improvements. Private residential tenancy boards to provide an informal, cheap and speedy forum for resolving disputes before they reach a tribunal. So, obviously, the end to no faults eviction, that's a foregone conclusion. I think everybody wants an end to the no faults conclusion, the no faults eviction. I'm pretty sure that's going to be in the Labour manifesto when we get round to it at some point as well. I don't remember it being in the Lib Dems one, funnily enough, but maybe it was in there and I didn't see it. But yeah, that one obviously introducing a tenant's rights to demand energy efficiency improvements there. I can't like that because that's pushing landlords to make sure that the homes that tenants are living in are insulated and energy efficient, so that their energy bills, because obviously they're the ones that are paying the energy bills because they're living in the home, that their energy bills are cheaper, pretty much. Mad Monk, good to see you there. Stephen Banker, good to see you there. And good morning, Steve McMahon. Hope you're doing well. And Jao there as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And Mark Wilkie's just popped in there as well. So I've just seen a lot of people just jump in all of a sudden. Hope you guys are all doing well. It seems to be a problem with the live chat. It's taking me ages to get a message to show. Yeah, I don't know. So like I said, I can't I can't reset it unless I stop the live stream. And obviously, if I stop the live stream, it ends pretty much. So I can't do anything about it. It was something to do with I tried to put a live YouTube poll in for you guys, and it bugged out the chat. And I refreshed it, and the live chat came back. So yeah, there's nothing I can do about the chat, guys. I'm sorry. I'd have to stop the live stream to fix it, and I'm not prepared to do that, unfortunately. But Pedulous there, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. So I do apologise if the chat is slow. Private residential tenancy boards as well. Yeah, I have no problem with this. Like, this is the thing. Like, renters are not getting a fairer deal anyway. We know that. And it's been really unfair on them. So it is time for a change in terms of the rental market, and they need that. They need that change anyway. Greens have been in administration for Shroud for the past decade and have ensured that residents now have many more high-quality social homes. Council house buildings have been a key plank of their programme since 2014, with nearly 300 council homes built since then, to the highest environmental standards. The Green Council led plans to further increase social housing by over 100 homes over the next 5 years by developing older sites, building new homes and requiring developers to provide more affordable homes. It is also implementing a multi-million-pound investment to bring all council housing up to modern standards of efficiency and comfort. Shroud's ambition has been undermined by right to buy, something Green MPs will be fighting to change in Parliament. Yeah, I like this. I really like this. They obviously, and I like that the fact that they've used an example here of the administration control they've had in Stroud here and what they have done since their programme in 2014. This is really good stuff because this is highlights. This is what we will do. This is what we've done on a local level here. This is what we want to introduce on a grander scale. This is very good, good highlighting here from the Greens in terms of that. So in terms of obviously housing and that, I think let's provide a greener, fairer homes. I think everybody, I think that's pretty solid there. 91 Leeds, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. So this one, obviously, healthcare, building a fairer, healthier country. So the NHS is facing the worst crisis in its 8-year history. It's a result of deliberate Conservative underfunding that seen the NHS undermine and at risk of collapse, paving the way for further privatisation. The Green Party is committed to a fully public, properly funded health and social care system to keep the profit motive well away from the NHS. So the Green MPs will push for a year-on-year reduction on waiting lists, guaranteed access to an NHS dentist, guaranteed rapid access to a GP and same-day access in case of urgent need. An immediate boost to the pay of NHS staff, including the restoration of junior doctors' pay with the help of staff retention. To meet these aims, we estimate that the NHS in England will require an additional annual expenditure of £8 billion in the first full year of the next Parliament, rising to £28 billion in total by 2030. Additional capital spending of at least £20 billion is needed over the next 5 years for the hospital building and repair. As I said, that's a really good point there that they've pointed out. The building, the states of hospital buildings and the repairs that are needed. That's something that's needed to be highlighted, that it needs to be addressed with regards to hospitals. Investing in GPs and public health is key to prevention, each diagnostic, and improving our quality of life while also reducing the burden on our NHS. Green MPs will push for increasing the allocation of funding to primary medical care, with additional annual spending reaching £1.5 billion by 2030. Restoring the public health budgets to 2015-2016 levels with an immediate annual increase of £1.5 billion. Smoking, succession, drugs and alcohol treatment, and sexual health service for all need to be properly funded. A national commission to agree on an evidence-based approach to reform the UK's counterproductive drug laws. So one thing I have to say, obviously, before I continue it on, there was some economics. I think it was the IMF as well, that they were stating that their numbers didn't add up in terms of the costs, obviously for the healthcare, and I think that's an important highlight point there. So obviously, there may be some questions about the numbers, obviously, when it comes to the NHS here, but that's not to say that obviously that they don't have policies here, that they don't have ambitions. I think the thing here is obviously obviously the next part there is NHS dentistry, so we'll look into that in a minute. But obviously, it's saying year-on-year reduction in NHS waiting lists, and obviously they say they want to reverse, obviously, the privatisation of NHS. What is your intention of how you are going to do that while also reducing waiting lists exactly? Like, how are you going to do that is the question that I put to this party. If they were, I know we're going hypothetical here, guys, but I also think this is important, that if you are put on the spot, how do you actually do it? Not so much of like the Conservatives have left it in a mess. Yes, we know the Conservatives have left it in a mess, but how would you reduce these waiting list times while also avoiding the need for privatisation as well? Like, what is your plan in order to do that sort of thing? So those small details are things that I think is really, really important. But there may be some more after the NHS dentistry. Yeah, there is. So what else are they saying? So NHS dentistry. So Green MPs will end the systematic underfunding of dentistry and the scandal of dental treatment deserts by pushing for a new NHS dentist contract so that dentists are properly rewarded for taking on NHS patients. Additional funding in NHS dentistry reaching £3 billion by the year of 2030. Funding for community hubs and primary care to roll out free dental nursing for children and those on low incomes. I like the idea of, obviously we were talking about the funding issue of how they would fund this. I like that they're talking about here, obviously, the primary care, free nursery, for free dental nursery for children. This is a great stuff, just to kind of get all kids, making sure that they have that care, that they have the assurances that their teeth are well looked after. Again, I know we're talking about the cost here, but this is something where they're saying the right things here. They're saying going to put in an extra reaching £3 billion a year by 2030. Obviously, we'll come to the cost, obviously, a bit later, but I like this as well. Is obviously, I've talked about how important it is to incentivize people. So here they're going to properly reward NHS dentist contracts for taking on NHS patients. This is how, if you incentivize workers with reward, that's how you do it. Incentivize them, don't punish them, reward them, give them something to say, if you do this, this is what you will get. Not just tell them to do something. It's like asking the private sector, to train and recruit more staff for certain departments or whatnot. They don't have to, and they're not forced to do so in any way, shape, or form. But if you put money on the table or you offer them something, then they'll be like, oh, maybe I will do this. Maybe I will do this. So the incentive really does. The incentive thing, that really does matter here. Mental out. The chat was really crazy. Is it? Is the chat really that problematic? I hope it's not. Hold on, let me just have a quick look here. I hope it's not. I hope the chat is okay. I hope it's not too much of a trouble, guys. I don't know what's wrong with it. I'm having lots of problems anyway, but I can see your. I've got the chat right in front of me, so I can see your messages, guys. There. Mental health and neurodiversity. There has been a dramatic rise in mental health problems in recent years, particularly among young people, with far too many unable to access the help they need with it. Elected Greens will press for a legal framework that supports the rights of those struggling with their mental health to be represented and to live fulfilling lives, and increased funding for mental health care, putting it on equal footing with physical health care and enabling people to access evidence-based mental health therapies within 28 days. A trained and paid counsellor in every school and sixth form college. Readily available tailored provisions to meet the needs of communities of colour, children and adolescents, older people and LGBTIQA plus communities, and adequate support in the school system for neurodivergent children and children with special education needs. Don't think anyone's going to argue with any of this. I think this is totally... train and pay counsellors for every school and sixth form in college there. Supporting the rights for those who are struggling with their mental health. Because it's a complete the chat is now stable, okay. I can't do anything about if the chat is having issues, guys. There's nothing I can do. Pedro says right now the chat seems to be fine. Okay. Mental health. You guys know exactly how I feel about mental health. And actually, next month I'm going to be doing a mental health live stream sometime after the general election. Because this channel, I'm overdue one, and I want to talk about mental health again. Especially like what this month has been absolutely crazy for me. This week in particular, more than anything. So we need to talk about it again. It's been a while since we talked about it on the channel, so we will be doing a mental health live stream at some point next month. I think that's really important. But yeah, treat them with respect and dignity, and help them understand these problems. Like, these just very simple things. Obviously, there's not a lot of detail into what the Greens are saying here, but they're putting out the bullet points of what they're saying they're going to do here. So, and I like they mentioned the LGBTIQA plus communities as well. Adding that, I think that's really important to highlight them as well, because they as well. Assisting dying. Elected Greens will support a change in the law to legalise assisting dying for people suffering with terminal disease who wish to avoid prolonged unnecessary suffering. If this is clear and settled, proper safeguards will be put in place. Yeah. I think the majority of MPs in the House actually are for assisting dying, my understanding. And obviously, safeguards are fundamental when it comes to this, because I understand why some people are opposed to it. They're worried about the possibility of assisting dying obviously being abused, which is totally understandable. It's totally understandable that people think that they might be abused, the assistant dying. But I do think that as long as there are significant safeguards in place, I think it can work here in the UK, and I think we should look to implement it. And new cases of HIV by 2030. So Green MPs will work towards no more HIV transmissions by 2030, advocating for a joint-up evidence-based approach, including access to the HIV prevention pill online, in pharmacies and from GP services, and renewing successful opt-out HIV testing programs in A&E in all areas with a high prevalence of HIV. Yeah, we shouldn't even have HIV at this point. Like the fact that there are still cases out there, we need to, just need to stomp this out. And I'm all for it, but obviously there's lots of other healthcare treatments and issues that are. But I'm more than happy with them to push for that as well. So this again highlights where the Greens have tried to put play their part in the NHS with it. So this was this part here, Caroline Lucas and the NHS reinstatement bill. So in 2015, Green MP Caroline Lucas was the first to champion the cross-party NHS reinstatement bill to protect our NHS from creeping marketisation and privatisation, and ensuring that the NHS service both publicly paid for and publicly provided. Caroline brought campaigners, grassroots organisations, health experts and other MPs together in Westminster to make a case for an NHS in public hands. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I wouldn't say it was all on her, but yeah, she did her. I would say she did her part in this, and I think that's important to highlight. The NHS bill was a vital blueprint to roll back NHS privatisation and reinstate founding NHS principles. Truly public, fully protected, always free at the point of delivery. Caroline gave a voice to all those who wanted to protect the NHS. We love from being dismantled and undermined by bidding wars and market structures that take away billions away from patient care. The bill shows that the strength of cross-party and public support for the NHS to be run with patients, not profits, as its heart. As for a comprehensive rescue package to fully protect it from the private sector. I think this was again, I want to stress, like, this is a nice, I like this little thing they have at the end of each policy, just to saying what part that the Greens have played in something, even if it's not a lot. I do like that little thing. It's a nice little thing. But in terms of what they're saying here, I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, we know that then we're playing with our imaginations here. If the Greens were to go into power and this is what they're going to implement, guys, we know it's not going to happen. But we can just put that in your heads, yeah, that this is what they would do if they were. So next one we have is caring with fairness, compassion, and dignity, which I think anyone here agrees with. They don't have a lot here on that, actually, to be fair. So, with over 400,000 people are waiting care reviews, repayments, and assessments. There are 150,000 staff vacancies in the care sector in England. There is an estimated to be 4.7 million unpaid carers. To address this crisis and help take the pressure off the NHS, Green MPs will push for an investment of $20 billion to introduce free personal care along the lines of successfully brought in by the Scottish Government to ensure dignity in old age and for the disabled, and increase pay rates and introduce a career structure for carers to rebuild the care workforce. For those living at home, this will enable earlier access to help maintain independence and well-being. For those living in residential settings, the personal care elements will be fully funded along a tapered approach to other costs based on the level of income. For those struggling to afford the accommodation elements of residential care, including because their spouse is still in the family home, local authorities will need to be properly funded to provide the right level of financial support. So elected Greens will also push for an additional £3 billion to enable local authorities to provide high quality children's social care. Obviously, we don't know there's not a lot here in terms of this, but obviously, I like that they want to take ideas here from the Scottish Government, considering the Scottish Government have had some great, they've got some great policies of their own that they're using to help benefit the people of Scotland, and taking some of those policies and ideas and bringing them here to England makes logical sense. And I'm all for this one, that is for sure. Obviously, saying an investment of £20 billion, obviously that's a lot of money. Where are you going to get that from is the question people always keep asking. But we do have a magic money tree, apparently. I was saying to stop asking that question, but I am still going to ask it because it's in my DNA, guys. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this. Obviously, obviously cost and the recruitment staff. Recruitment's obviously going to be an issue here. Pay rates, obviously, yeah. If you want people to stay on, increase their pay. It's a foregone. It's pretty much logic there, really. YouTube allegedly violating EU law with its anti-ad block detector. Oh, okay. So there's no monetization on this live stream, so there shouldn't be any of that issue with you guys here, to be fair. Because I don't monetize my live stream, so I don't make any money unless I get super chats or memberships, guys. Just so you know. But that was caring with fairness, compassion, dignity. That one. So creating a fairer, greener economy they have here. Oh, okay. So they're going to build a greener economy like solar panel houses. Very nice, very nice. So what are they offering here? So Green MPs will fight for an economy that delivers security or well-being and a better quality of life for everyone, as well as protecting our environment and enabling us to tackle the climate crisis with the ambition and speed it demands. Privatisation has failed. Dividends are paid to shareholders while infrastructure is run to the ground. The Green Party is committed to public ownership of public services, so they are run to service all rather than to increase the wealth of shareholders. So elected Greens will push for a green economic transformation to include A £40 billion investment per year in the shift to a green economy over the course of the next Parliament. Okay, but obviously that's obviously going to be broken down in pieces, obviously, in different things, so that will be. A carbon tax to drive fossil fuels out of our economy to raise money to invest in the green transition. Bringing the railways, water companies, and the big 5 retail energy companies into public ownership. Now, this was a big one that obviously this was the big thing that really kind of highlighted here, is that they want to take pretty much the majority of things out of privatization and bring it into public ownership. No worries, Terry. Thanks for popping by. And bring them back into public ownership. Now, they say water companies here. Obviously, I have no problem with the water companies coming back into public ownership as long as we are not settled with any kind of the debts that the private companies have pulled on. I do not want taxpayers' money paying off the debts that they have left. It is really important that they make sure that if, I know we're playing hypothetical here, guys, but if the Greens were to come into government power, blah, 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 I know. I do not want the debt being saddled by the taxpayer. This something needs to be left at the hands of the companies that have built up these debts in the first place. But it's railways, yeah, it's a foregone. I think Labour saying they're going to bringing it back into nationalise the railways anyway, which but it's not going to be straight away. I believe Labour said there's going to be like run down the contracts and then bring them into government ownership, I believe is what they're going to be doing. But it is quite a change, but I think it's also a good one because it's basically saying, look, we can't trust privatization to look after basic public services here. This is the message that the Greens are saying, basically. And the last 14 years kind of speak volumes about that in itself anyway. So we need to push the sustainability of our communities through the transition. So Green MPs will push for a £12.4 billion investment in skills and training, equipping workers to play a full role with the green economy. A share of community ownership in local sustainable energy infrastructure such as wind farms. It has a lot of money, obviously, to invest. It's a huge amount of money, obviously, investing in skills and training. And that is something that's really important, obviously, when it comes to building up the workforce anyway. That is for sure. But it's a long-term project, obviously, to build up that workforce. I've talked about that in the past. Taxing wealth fairly and borrowing to invest. So while our public services are crying out for investment, the number of billionaires in the UK has risen from 29 to 171 since 2010. Elected Greens will push for major changes to the tax system to simplify and align the rates of tax paid on income and investment gains, whether their source and to fairly excessive the concentration of wealth. And these measures will include a wealth of tax of 1% annually on assets above 10 million and of 2% on assets above 1 billion. Only a tiny minority of people would pay this tax. A reform of capital gains tax as the CTG to align the rates paid by taxpayers on income and taxable gains. This would effectively less than 2% of all income taxpayers. Align the tax rates on investment income with the tax and national insurance contribution rates on employment income. Removing the upper earnings limit that restricts the amount of national insurance paid by higher earners. We estimate by the end of the next Parliament that these changes could raise additional revenue of between 50 to 70 billion pounds a year in 2024 prices. A carbon tax set initially at 120 pounds per tonne of carbon emitted and rising over 10 years to a maximum of 500 per tonne, which will raise an additional 80 billion pounds. So first and foremost, this is generous from the Greens. Like me personally, I would put them both at 5%. I would put them both at 5%. Sorry, I would put the 10 million one. I'd put that at 5%, and I would put the 1 billion one at 10%. Like I would take a massive chunk. Like it may seem a bit harsh, but I'd be like yeah. But what I would do then, I would say for I don't know. I would do it like that, but do it for 10 years, and then after 10 years, I would drop that wealth tax back down. So that they can claw that money back, sort of thing. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would take a much bigger chunk of tax out of them because they don't need that money. It just sits there, and that money I would take a lot more lot more. That's extremely generous of the Greens. That's a very generous wealth tax. So, but the numbers have been questioned by the IMF. I think the Institute of, it's the IMF, I'm pretty sure it's, or IFS. One of the think tanks has been questioned the numbers on this, to be fair. Reforming capital gains tax, yep, I have no problem with that. That needs to be happy with that change as well. Aligning tax rates on investment income, national contribution rates on income home. Again, like it does need to be looked into as well. So I'm happy with that as well. There are easier ways of a more equal system to tax all incomes alike instead of taxing actual work. Quite high in passive income from money working very low, says Pedulous there. He also says all those who claim would leave if high wealth taxes were introduced and should look at the Roosevelt time in the US. He introduced 93% wealth tax and barely anyone left. Well, yeah, that's America though, to be fair. But yeah, I totally understand. I understand what you're saying. That's £500 million tax, 5% a year. They will flee or they go ashore. Oh, the humanity. Well, I'm trying to get some of that money back, Simon. See, I did say tax is not my best thing, but good to see you, Simon. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm not. Like I said, taxing is not my forte. Anyway, let's read this last bit. So, SME and community sector support. Small and medium-sized businesses are the lifeblood of our economy and our communities. So the Green MPs will press for regional and mutual banks to be set up to drive investment in decarbonisation and local economic stability. £2 billion per year in grant funding for local authorities to help businesses decarbonise, and community ownership to be encouraged through greater access to government funding in the transition to a zero carbon economy. I think all this stuff, if I'm absolutely honest, most of this is something that the Labour Party will be pushing to anyway. So I expect cross-party cooperation with the Greens and Labour on this, if I'm honest, in that last bit there. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with most of that anyway. I don't think so far I've not found anything that's really sticking out to saying I'm not sure about this. So powered up, fairer, greener energy. So accelerating green energy investment and delivery. So the UK's current climate targets do not reflect the urgency of the climate crisis. We will push the government to transition to a zero carbon society as soon as possible and more than a decade ahead of 2050. This ambition will deliver a zero carbon electricity supply and a security of supply over short and long periods of low generation, with sufficient electricity for all cars and vans to be electric, for all homes and buildings to stop using fossil fuels, and for the most industry to transition to clean energy. Elected Greens will push for wind to provide around 70% of the UK's electricity by 2030. Delivery of 80 gigawatts of offshore wind, that's 53 GW on offshore wind, and 100 GW of solar by 2035. Investment in energy storage capacity and more efficient energy distribution, and communities to own their own energy sources, ensuring that they can use any profits from selling excess energy to reduce their bills to benefit their communities. And this makes logical sense. I think everyone knows that, and I expect Labour to be pushing these kind of policies anyway, but it's a case of, obviously, the Greens want to push it much faster than Labour, but I do think Labour want to push some of these policies anyway. How they will I expect, again, cooperation here between, if Greens get 4 MPs, which they are expected, or that's the ambitious, obviously, of getting 4 MPs. And this is something that I think they will do in cooperation, again, with a Labour government to push some of these ambitions in. But whether they will, obviously, or not, will be obviously another thing. But, we should be using more wind and solar anyway. The other ones really are, like, nuclear power is not something we really need. It is not really something that is needed, and it's also incredibly dangerous because of, obviously, the possibility of ever a nuclear plants ever having a meltdown. I know it's highly unlikely, but there's always that possibility anyway. But I'm perfectly comfortable with that. I don't see anything wrong with that. Phasing out fossil fuels. So cancel recent fossil fuel licenses such as the Rosebank and stop all fossil fuel extraction projects in the UK. Remove all oil and gas subsidies and introduce a carbon tax on all fossil fuel imports and domestic extraction based on greenhouse gas emissions produced when the fuel is burned. Now, is this a good idea? So now the thing is, I'm a bit skeptical about this. Now, don't get me wrong. Let me be clear about this. Like, I'm all for phasing out fossil fuels, but are they going too fast with this? Are they going too fast with this? Doing this, they say they would do this. They would cancel it all straight away if they could. Is that a bit too fast there? I know we have a climate situation, and you guys know how I feel about it. But a part of me feels like they want to push this straight out the bat. Cancelling the fuel licenses of Rosebank, I'm totally all for. But removing all, like, I feel like this might be like, it says phasing out fossil fuels. These bullet points don't come across to me as phasing out. It looks like just bang, 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 kick it all to the curb. That's how it comes across to me. So I'm not 100% sure on if I'm a bit skeptical about that, if I'm honest. But I support it, but I don't. I want it to be a bit slower, if I'm honest. We want to see the phase out of nuclear energy, which is unsafe and more expensive than renewables. The development of nuclear power stations is too slow given the pace of action we need on climate. They also create unimaginable quantities of radioactive waste and are extremely linked with the production of nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. Like I said, I'm not for nuclear power anyway, so totally in agreement with that. So Greens acting to reduce energy bills. So here's some of their work that they've been doing on our local level. So Greens on South Oxfordshire Council have linked grant funding for new affordable housing with the provision of homes that are cheap to run because they don't rely on fossil fuels. They're also committed to putting council's own houses in order by targeting council operations to be net zero by 2025 and moving its pension funds away from investments in fossil fuels. So when council officers in Somerset West and Taunton said it would be unaffordable to upgrade 5,700 council homes, Green councillors set up a working party to put together a plan for cheaper energy bills. The three-stage process is ensuring that all these homes will see basic light, ventilation and insulation fixed by 2030, with a complete switch away from fossil fuels by 2050 there. That's a very nice one there. Yeah, very nice one there. Make work fair. That's something that we would all like. We would all like work to be a lot fairer. That is for sure. Give every household access to solar and make a profit from selling the excess to industries and the board system banker. Yeah, makes logical sense. Pedula says France introduced a new law last year that all parking lots with more than 6 parking positions to install solar panels at least over half the parking lot. Yeah, Pedula, so I saw a video from Marcus Allshorts where he showed that. He showed the solar panels being installed on top of it, the top of a parking lot, a new parking lot. It's a great idea. We got airports, right? Imagine if we put solar panels on top of all those massive airports that we have in the London airports, all the London airports. Because we have fields in some of those airports, fields of cars. Imagine just putting roofs on top of them and turning them all into solar panels. Like, that's just energy right there. And it's secure as well, because those car parks are secure because they have cameras and whatnot as well. So it's like you're making free energy at the same time. So it's kind of a win-win situation there. So making work fair. Millions of people have seen their pay seriously eroded by inflation well over a decade, including many who work in vital public services. Green MPs will defend and extend workers' rights to organise in the workplace, and they're going to be pushing for the repeal of current anti-union legislation and its replacement with a positive charter of worker rights, with the rights to strike at its heart, along with legal obligation for all employers to recognise trade unions. This is giving a lot of power to the unions. A lot of unions will definitely like this here. A maximum of 10-to-1 pay ratio for all private and public sector organisations. Oh, interesting. An increase in the minimum wage to £15 an hour, no matter your age, with the cost to small businesses offset by reducing their national insurance payment. This is good. This is good. This will help. Obviously depends on what the set cost of, obviously, of how much the profit of the small business would say. I like that. Obviously, the £15 an hour is a given. It needs to be. That's what makes sense, because the pay rate is just crap. It's just not good enough. And I like this little nugget here about the small businesses to offset it. Makes sense. Equal employment rights for all workers from their first day of employment. including those working in the gig economy and on zero-hour contracts. Gig employers that repeatedly break employment, data protection, or tax laws will be denied the licenses to operate. Yeah, makes logical sense there. And also as well, no matter what your age is. So if you're a 16, 17-year-old, you would still get that 15 an hour pay. That's very good there. Yeah, nothing more on making work fair. But yeah, I'm very happy with that if they were to implement it, to be fair. Right, so next one is fairer, greener social support. These are quite a bit weird, these ones are kind of done. I kind of, the only thing that bothers me is the text, because it's all stretched out. So it's a bit small for you guys. So, but I am reading it all word for word anyway, so. Fairer, greener social support. So most of us want to live in a country where everyone is treated with dignity, not one where record numbers of children are in poverty. Older people can't keep warm, and disabled people are badly let down. We could do so much better lifting everyone up and making sure that all of us can access extra help when we need it. So, to tackle the cost of living crisis, the poorest in our society, and make the social security system fairer and less punishing, elected Greens will campaign to increase universal credit and legacy benefits by £40 a week, abolish the two-child benefit cap, lifting 250,000 children out of poverty, end the bedroom tax. I like that one. Bedroom tax was as well. In the long term, introduce a universal basic income to give everybody security to start a business, study and train their life, and live their life in dignity. UBI there. So they have said they are in support of a universal basic income, and there it is in their manifesto. So they are backing a universal basic income. Obviously, what kind of universal basic income? Obviously, we don't know. But our hope is that they push a UBI down the road onto a Labour government down the road there. But increase the universal credit and legacy benefits by £40 a week. Like, yep. Getting rid of the two-child benefit cap. We all know how badly that's affecting people as well. And the bedroom tax is also another thing that will help as well. So, yeah, I'm happy with all that. Disabled people have as much right to lead a full, meaningful life as does everyone else. So Green MPs will push to restore the value of disability benefits with an immediate uplift of 5%. Reform in trustees eligible tests like PIP and the unfair targeting of carers and disabled people on benefits. Make it mandatory for councils to provide free transport for 16 to 18-year-old pupils with special education needs and disabilities. Okay. Yeah, this needs to be done. I think the only thing I would have said here, I don't see it here, obviously, is I don't know if they're going to have it later on, is obviously the DWP, the Department of Work and Pensions, those who work in the job centre, those who make those decisions when it comes to the healthcare people, needs to be decided by the workers who decide whether people should get entitlement to universal credit or not. I want to put it in there that those who make those decisions have to have qualified medication, have to be a qualified doctor, GP, or of some sorts, a healthcare profession of some sorts to make that decision. It should not be just fundamentally decided by some guy behind a computer screen or on a video call that doesn't understand that. I do wish that was something that was put in there, if I'm honest. But everything else, like UBI, restoring the value of disability benefits, it just makes sense. Like, again, like they're not going to treat, they want to put the humanity back in people. That's what they want to do there, and I like that. So bringing nature back to life. We are part of nature, and unless it flourishes, we cannot flourish either. But the UK is one of the most nature-deprived countries in the world. To protect and restore nature, elected Greens will campaign to introduce a new Rights of Nature Act, given rights to nature itself. End the scandal of sewage pouring into our rivers and seas by taking the water companies back into public ownership. Again, I still have the question about how they deal with the debt issues on them. Extending people's access to green space and waterways close where they live with a new English Right to Roam Act. Setting aside 30% of our land and seas by 2030, in which nature will receive the highest priority and protection. Green MPs will also press for an immediate end to the emergency authorization of bee-killing pesticides. Yep, I'm yep, we need to protect our bees. That's really important. The bee population has really gone down for quite a while, actually, to be fair. A new Clean Air Human Rights Act giving everyone the right to breathe clean air. Yep, that makes sense. So this is some of the work they've done in regarding these policies. So Lewis giving rights to nature and protect our rivers. So Green-led Lewis District Council acted to protect the River Ouse from pollution by making it the first river in England to be granted legal rights as part of a growing movement to bolster protection for nature through the law. Our waterways are being used as a free dumping ground for pollution from agriculture, new housing developments and water company spillages. Like the Green councillors in Lewis, Green MPs can always fight to protect the health of our rivers, and so many people enjoy them. Nature can't vote, but you can. I like that one. Nature can't vote, but you can. That's very good, and that's a good story there. Obviously, they've protected the River Ouse there as well. So showing what they can do if they have the power to do so. There, I do like that from the Greens there. What do you guys say? Where rivers and seas are natures, and they all need to be under the thumb of the state as it makes miracles here, says Jow. Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. This is very important. Disabled people need this help and free of charge. They are responsible for the society as one, says Jow. Yep. Trade unions are also very accepted in Germany, says Pedulous. They even have a seat at the boards so that the owners and the unions discuss together how to lead the companies. Yeah, they do. They do. Thanks. Obviously, I don't know too much about German politics, but it's fascinating to know that, obviously. But thanks for that. Mark says, I feel so sorry for the people of England who are suffering from pollution. I was horrified to learn of waste being dumped into the River Mare. Yes, I know. Sorry, it might have been because I've been using my voice a lot earlier today as well. But yeah, the Wyre. Yeah, I know which one you're referring to. Yeah, it's absolutely terrible what they did. What's happened there. Quite it's like a storm's taking place outside. I can hear. Right, protecting animals. Well, yeah, it's nice to hear one talking about protecting animals here. So to better protect animals and their habitats, Green MPs will push for the creation of a new commission on animal protection. A ban on all blood sports, including trail hunting. Yes, I'm all for that. Lake districts, thank you. All UK domestic and overseas territorial waters to offer the highest level of protection to marine life. One angry pagan will like this. An end to badger coaling. He will like that. And I like that too. An end to factory farming, enforcement of maximum stocking densities, and no routine use of antibiotics in farm animals. A complete ban on close confinement in cages, and the deliberate and unnecessary mutilation of farm animals. I don't think anyone here has a problem with all of these. I'm all for these. I'm all for more making sure that we protect the wildlife and protect animals as much as we possibly can. I'm all for that. So, Green Party Baroness Jenny Jones led the rebellion in the House of Lords that stopped the government scrapping nutrient neutrality rules, thereby protecting some of the most precious water systems from pollution. The Labour Party initially backed Conservatives' plans to scrap these and leave taxpayers with the clean-up bills, but Jenny successfully pushed them to support her fatal motion to stop this move. Jenny has used her profile in Parliament to make public ownership of water one of the key asks for the next Parliament, of the next government. Private water companies have taken our money for over 30 years and have paid it to the shareholders rather than investing in our sewage system that's fit for purpose. Only public ownership will fix this problem for good. And we've done a few clips on Snowflake Watch of some of the things that Jenny Jones has done in the House of Lords as well. So that's good stuff there as well. Protect the ecosystem, Stephen Banker says. Yeah. South Coast 2 says Stu, Viking President. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, guys. So next one is fairer, greener food and farming. I've gone over an hour long. Should I do a funny video? I've got a funny video for you guys. I might do that one. I'll do this one and then we'll do a funny video just to break things up a little bit. So fairer, greener food and farming. So our food system is failing us all. Poor diets are estimated to cost us NHS £6.5 billion a year, yet successive governments have failed to take on the unhealthy food lobby. Meanwhile, the way we produce our food is damaging our natural world and our climate. Our food system accounts for a third of all greenhouse gas emissions and is the greatest driver of nature loss and pollution in our rivers. Green MPs will work with farmers and other stakeholders to transform our food and farming systems. So we are producing healthy, nutritious food at fair prices for consumers and with fair wages for growers. We will also aim to increase the amount of food grown and traded in the UK as locally as possible. So elected Greens will push for financial support for farmers to be almost tripled to support their transition to nature-friendly farming. Tripled? God, how are you gonna? That's a lot. Let's triple that. That's a lot. Biodiversity and soil health to be conserved and improved, leading to cleaner rivers. Farm payments to be linked to reduce the use of pesticides and other agrochemicals. That's a great way. Again, that's one. If you want to incentivize farmers to be more diverse in terms of being able to transition more to green stuff and less reliance on certain pesticides and that harm the environment around their farms in order to protect their crops and whatnot. Incentivize them, and that's one way of doing it. It's definitely a great way of doing it. Give them incentives and reasons to change. Again, all schools to have a free school meal each day and free breakfast club for children up to year 6. This should not even be this should be something that all politicians, all parties should be approving of. There should not be any kind of discussion or debate about whether kids should or shouldn't have a school meal. It's for me, it's if you have a problem with giving kids a free school meal, you're cruel and inhumane. Yeah. And if you ask majority of people majority of people across the UK, would you happily pay a tax or whatever? Would you be happy if your taxpayer money went towards every single child in the whole of the UK, going towards them getting free school meals? You would say yes. Because if you didn't, you would show that you're a bit cruel and a bit inhumane. This is something that everyone should be backing. Schools to involve children in growing, preparing and cooking food as part of a core curriculum. This is a great idea. I like this. Get more kids learning how to cook. This kind of stuff could really make a big difference. I like this. I like this. Policies that ensure that good quality surplus food is not wasted. Yes. And this, obviously, if everybody learns how to cook and the way that they can save and reduce the amounts of nutrition and whatnot, yeah, that kind of stuff can obviously, also plays a part in what the Green Party are doing as well. So definitely like that stuff. Wow, the wind is really howling out there. So it's really distracting me. It's like a storm's just coming all of a sudden. So I was going to do the funny video, wasn't I? Yeah, I can't help myself. So fairer, greener transport. So our transport choices account for about a quarter of carbon emissions. So it is vital to make it easier to opt for greener choices. Yet public transport provisions continue to decline, often leaving these on low incomes with no affordable options. Green MPs will champion better, cheaper public transport so that every community is connected and can thrive. So they will push to increase annual public subsidies for rail and bus travel by £10 billion by the end of the next parliament. With free bus travel for under 18s. Invest an additional £19 billion over 5 years to improve public transport, support electrification, and create new cycleways and footpaths. This is something I want us to take more of what the Dutch have done when it comes to cycleways. I really think there's opportunities for this to be done, and I really think, in cooperation with local councils and businesses in towns and whatnot, we should be pushing more for cycleways. It can really help reduce the amount of a lot of cars. So I'm all for new cycleways, that's for sure. Bring the railway back into public ownership. I'm pretty sure Labour said they're committed to that. And give local authorities control over funding for improved bus services as well. I think Labour are going to be doing that, giving more local authority control for that anyway, either way. So, but yeah, I'm happy with all those things, obviously. But free bus travel for under 18s. Giving kids, that freedom to be able to travel wherever they want and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of money taken out of the public transport. That is a lot of money you're taking away. But at the same time, you're obviously giving kids more freedom to go places and whatnot. Safe streets and active travel. Walking, wheeling and cycling doesn't just help reduce carbon emissions and air pollution. They can make us all happier and healthier too. So elected Greens will push for investment in £2.5 billion a year in new cycleways and footpaths. Reimagining how we use the streets in residential areas in reducing traffic and open them up for community use. Adopting active travel England objectives of 50% of trips in England's towns and cities to be walked, wheeled or cycled by 2030. That's quite ambitious. That's quite ambitious, that is. I admire the ambition. I think that's a bit too ambitious, if I'm honest, for that. But I understand why they're pushing for it. But other than that, like the other two there, like 2.5 billion, that's a lot of money again. I know I shouldn't be talking about the money, but Mad Monk 33 says the Greens are definitely taking a lot from what the Scottish government have done as free bus travel for under 22s in Scotland already. Yeah, they're definitely poaching a lot of your ideas up there. That's for sure. And it makes sense. A lot of what you guys have policies and what you guys have got, yeah, with your government makes sense. Aviation is a fast-growing source of CO2 emissions, and it's the wealthiest driving this trend. So Green MPs will push for a frequent flyer levy, a ban on domestic flights for journeys that would take less than 3 hours by train, and a halt to the expansion of new airport capacity. Now, originally I wasn't for banning. Like, I would say this should only come in when the rail system is more efficient. Once rail is a bit more efficient, then ban domestic flights. That's my only answer on that. That would be my only answer on that. So here's some of their work in play, guys. In Hertfordshire, cheaper buses supporting local people and businesses. The Green-led Hertfordshire Council acted to revive the local economy and help small businesses after the COVID pandemic by making all buses within the county free at the weekend and putting an extra weekend service. This popular change helped bring people into the town centres and giving businesses a boost. The scheme lasted nearly a year and used £1 million of COVID recovery funding. Nearly 170,000 journeys were taken and 12 new surveys laid on, giving great value for money. Council officers had suggested that the money be used to make car parking free, but the Green Cabinet Minister for the Economy shifted the focus to buses to help meet the council's climate emergency commitments and supported the many poorer households that had no access to a car. After the scheme ended, the 5 most popular services have continued 7 days a week, with most users now happy to pay for the ticket. That's the difference a Green in Power can make. Again, this is great publicity here. If you actually read the manifesto, once again they're showing this is what they can do. This is how they've done things on a local level and how they could try and emulate these kind of things on a national level. And I like that they keep doing this. It's really, really good stuff. I'm just going to open up the next one just so I don't get lost in my train of thought there. So just let me just see what you guys are saying in the chat. Free bus travel is invaluable for helping young people get to work and college, says Mark. Absolutely. Absolutely. If Stephen Baker hadn't already said that, I'm pretty sure everyone's in agreement with that. This is a good idea, but banning domestic flights will damage trade and tourism. You could rationalise its use and not let every major city have aerial, says Jow. Aerial transportation. Yeah. Like I said if the transportation was more efficient, I would say you could get away with this domestic flights. But my obviously the only thing is saying if the train service was a lot better, I would say you could probably get away with doing that. But yeah, I agree with you, Jow, that perhaps banning it straight off the bat is probably not the best idea. In all honesty. So, guys, I do have a funny video for you, but it's not technically a funny video. It's a bit of a weird one. So, I in no way going to be able to monetize this live stream when I play this because we'll be hit with a copyright. But it's fine. I'm not going to monetize this video, this live stream anyway. So, if anyone wants to do any super chats or whatnot, I'd be greatly appreciated. But so. Tom Swalbeck takes aim at Rishi Sunak's hardship claims. Now, I'm not going to play the whole clip, but I just want to play the start of it. And if you just listen, where's the no cam one? There we go. Just listen to what he says and the music, and you will, I promise you, you will enjoy this. Let me make sure the volume's pretty good. There we go.
I want to start this hour by telling you a story. An awful story, actually. A story of deep personal tragedy.
That is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant from Tom. I've watched that like 5 times, and every time I just couldn't stop laughing. Absolutely brilliant from Tom. And I'm going to do that one again. I'll probably do that one on the Viewpoint. I will do that one on the Viewpoint. I know it's LBC, and I know I'll get hit with copyright, but that is just so good, guys. It's so good. I really enjoyed that one. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I thought it was a great piss take on Rishi Sunak. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, much needed. Yeah. So, but yeah, if anyone wants a link for that, I'll put it on Discord if someone reminds me on that. So, and guys, just before I carry on, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. Be greatly appreciated. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, because it really does help support the channel doing all those things. And if you want to financially support me in the work I do, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for just 99p or $2.99 membership. Doing one of those two things supports me, and it supports the entire gang behind me. Here, like, I have Pingu, Cash Dummy, and Ollie here. Ollie, who's sitting on top of the orb here. So you're not just supporting me, you're supporting these gang here, and you get emojis of these guys as well. So whenever I'm live streaming or doing premiere videos, you can use the emojis here for these guys as well. And if you're a $2.99 member, you get early access to additional content. So some of you guys who are already $2.99 members are already seeing a lot of the membership videos already. Some of it already ready for the weekend. So you guys are well ahead of others. So other ways you can financially support me is by buying me a coffee or joining me on Patreon as well. Link is for them, it's in the description. So thank you to everyone and anyone who does that. So greatly appreciated. The music took me back to Radio 1 in the 80s, says Mark. Yeah. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? You can't help but laugh, really. It was just such a brilliant thing from LBC there. So let's carry on, you guys. So, a fairer, greener education system. Greener education system. So what are they planning to do with the education? So education should be about inspiring a lot of learning and ensuring that every young person can reach their potential, yet too many children are failing to thrive in an education system that operates like a production line rather than valuing their individual qualities. An investment in the next generation is the most important investment we can make. So Green MPs will champion an increase in school funding of £8 billion, including £2 billion to pay uplift for teachers. Yep, so again, more money in the pockets of teachers. Supporting every higher education student with the restoration of grants and the end of tuition fees. Yes, this is something, obviously, the end of tuition fees. Yes, that needs to go. It's just pointless having that as well. Excuse me. Ending high stakes testing at pharmacy and secondary school with the abolishing of abolishing Ofsted there. Abolishing Ofsted, but basically there's going to be no accountability there. I'm not adding any more than that in terms of fair, green education. I do think there needs to be some kind of accountability. But yeah, if you want to replace it, like getting rid of Ofsted, but you need to replace it with something, in my opinion. So I do disagree with the Greens on that. I do think there needs to be some kind of accountability there on that, if I'm honest, guys. Art, sports and culture for all. So arts, culture and sports are essential to people's mental and physical well-being and to thriving communities. We also make a huge contribution to the UK economy. So the Green MPs will push for a £5 billion investment to support community sports, arts and culture. Keep local sports facilities, museums, theatres, libraries and art galleries open and thriving. I think the Labour Party are going to be saying these same things as well, to be fair. And then to VAT on cultural activities, lowering the price of everything from museum tickets to gigs in local pubs and making these more accessible. Yeah, I'm happy with all that kind of stuff. I think most of that stuff is going to be stuff that, or similar wordings or phrasing in the Labour manifesto as well, if I'm honest. So, on some of that stuff. So our media landscape is skewed by dominance of billionaire and big tech ownership, intent on maximising profits by irresponsible practices that undermine democracy and promote harmful online content. Elected Greens will push for a change in the law so that no single individual or company can own more than 20% of any media market. This is a big one here. This will stop people having too much power. This will stop the likes of the Murdochs or Sir Paul Marshall, like having too much ownership and whatnot in the media landscape. So I'm all for that. all the reforms proposed in the second part of the 2012 Leviston report as well. So, don't think anyone here is going to argue that. I think we're all in for this year with the media stuff. So, again, are we going to see this in the Labour manifesto? I don't think so. Maybe some of you guys have read the media part already, but yeah, this makes sense. But I don't think we'll see it from them, if I'm honest. But maybe I'll be wrong. So, defending human rights, democracy and justice. Green MPs will always defend our democracy and democratic and human rights, uphold the rule of law and tackle political corruption. We will also push for the UK to become a modern, functional and more representative democracy. We will defend the Human Rights Act, the UK membership of the European Convention of Human Rights, and continue to direct access to convention rights in the domestic courts. Elected Greens will also push for replacing the first past the post system for parliamentary elections with a fair and proportional voting system. Proportional representation. Pretty much is what they're saying basically there, which is what Liberal Democrats are after as well. Replacing the House of Lords with an elected second chamber, like that as well. Votes for 16-year-olds and resident-based voting rights. Well, we know that Labour want to do that as well. Green MPs will also stand up against hate crime, misogyny and violence against women and girls, Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. Our commitment to human rights encompasses equality, civil justice and civil liberties. So we will campaign to end the violence against women and girls, scrap the Police, Crime, Sentencing and Courts Act and the Public Order Act and other legislation that erodes the rights to protest and free expression. Yeah, there's far too much bureaucracy for people being able to the rights to be able to protest. Campaign for the right to self-identification for trans and non-binary people. Yep, give them their rights. They deserve that. It's just it's a foregone one for me. Scrap the prevention program and tackle hate crime, misogyny, Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. Seek to restore trust and confidence in the police. I think everyone wants to do that. It's just a case of how you want to do it. Repair and renewed our crumbling court system with £2.5 billion investment. This is something I didn't see. I don't recall seeing too much from the Lib Dems saying that they were going to the Lib Dem manifesto, or even the Conservative one, talking about the court systems and the problems that they have. Like I said, guys, I haven't looked too much at the Labour manifesto, but obviously that one how are we supposed to bring justice to people if we don't even have the courts for them? The Greens believe in national self-determination. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland should be free to make their own decisions about their relationship with the rest of the United Kingdom. I'll read that again for the Scots, who have doubts about the English Greens there, The Greens believe in national self-determination. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland should be free to make their own decisions about their relationship with the rest of the United Kingdom. This is in their manifesto. So, just wanted to put that in there for our friends up in Scotland. So, basically, what they're allegedly saying here is that if Scotland wanted that, so the Green Party literally saying here that if they were in power, they would give Scotland the right to have their vote. Mind you, though, Caroline Lucas made that point as well on the Rest of Politics podcast when she was last on it as well. So get them being able to write self-determination. So here's some of the work they've been tackling knife crime in Bristol. So in 2023, Green councillor Mohammed Kasquis, whose friend had been fatally stabbed in Castle Park, proposed a motion to bring down knife crime in Bristol that was passed by the full council. Rather than simply calling for more policing, the Greens motion outlined practical solutions and addressing the social factors underlying knife violence. It introduced simple but vital steps to save lives, such as providing emergency bleed kits and staff training for nighttime venues, and provide more lighting to CCTV and to fix blind spots in areas on high knife crime. It hasn't said whether it's made a massive difference, but they've looked at here to try something different to tackle knife crime in Bristol there. But hopefully it's something that will make a difference in the long term for them. So a fairer, greener world, the next one. So in a world threatened by war, climate breakdown and the rise of authoritarian regimes, the Green Party believes that the UK's foreign policy should be based on shared commitments to democracy, peace, global solidarity and the protection of human rights. The Green MPs will work for the UK to take the lead up in holding the right to self-determination and the enforcement of international law. Continue to support Ukraine in its its resistance to Russian invasion. Rejoin the EU as soon as the political conditions are right. Israel and Palestine. We condemn the appalling number of hundreds of Israeli citizens by Hamas, and since they have watched in horror as Israeli forces have committed war crimes, we have called that, of course, the death of tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians. So the Green MPs will push in regards to Israel and Palestine, an immediate bilateral ceasefire, an end to arms sales to Israel, redoubling efforts to secure release of hostages taken on October the 7th, an urgent international effort to end the illegal occupation of Palestinian land, a durable political solution that ensures security and equal rights for Israelis and Palestinians, the reinstatement of funding for the UNRWA, yes, I like that, and support for South Africa's submission to the International Court of Justice. I like all of this stuff here, and I like that they're very important to keen to right equal rights for Israelis and Palestinians here, putting in their manifesto the release of hostages on October the 7th as well as obviously saying ending any kind of weapons or arms anywhere towards Israel, an immediate ceasefire here. I'm all for that as well. And rejoin the EU as soon as political conditions are right as well here. Obviously, I didn't really talk too much about that, but obviously they can't, also the Liberal Democrats have said that they want to rejoin the single market and that down the road they will want to rejoin the EU. That's what they stated in the Liberal Democrats manifesto as well. So they are saying they want to rejoin the EU, but when the time comes. So it's very important here. So people will say obviously that they want, the Greens want to rejoin the EU. No, the exact wording is rejoin the EU as soon as political conditions are right. So that means when the majority of the population want it, if the majority of politicians are for it, political parties are for it, then it makes sense. Nuclear weapons and NATO. Most of the world's countries do not possess weapons of mass destruction and are safer as a result. Elected Greens will push for the UK to sign the UN Treaty on the Provision of Nuclear Weapons, the TPNW. And following this, to immediately begin the process of dismantling our nuclear weapons, cancelling the Trident program, and removing all foreign nuclear weapons from UK soil. Now, I'm kind of torn on this one because I do feel like we. Like, part of me feels like we should still have nuclear weapons, but a part of me understands why people feel what they feel about them because of how dangerous they are. Because of the term of they act as a deterrent. That does stick in my mind a lot. I know a lot of people will say they're not really a deterrent. You don't really need them. But I just look at I look at nations that had taken their nuclear weapons away and what's happened to them since. So I'm gonna have to disagree with them on that one. I don't think so. On that one, work with international partners to enlarge members of the TPNW and ensure that all states meet their commitments under the Nuclear Non-Profiteering Treaty. The Green Party recognises that NATO has an important role in ensuring the ability of its member states to respond to threats to our security. We will work with NATO to achieve a greater focus on global peacekeeping, a commitment to a no first use of nuclear weapons. Climate diplomacy and overseas aid. In recognition of the importance of supporting countries in the global south and decarbonisation and economics to build resilience in increasing severe storms, floods and extreme heat, Green MPs will push for the UK to increase international aid to 1% of gross domestic income, GNI, by 2033, and increase global climate finance to global south to 1.5% of GNI by 2033 with an additional contribution to a newly established loss and damage fund. Interesting. Well, they cannot join the single market without joining the EU as stated in the Leave Agreement, says Zhao. Yeah, well, the thing is, so I'm just going by what they're saying in their manifestos, to be fair. But that they haven't said any here. It says here, rejoin the EU as soon as political conventions are right. So they're not saying about the single market, the Greens. They're saying rejoin the EU outright, is what they're saying here. The Lib Dems saying single market and then single market first. But yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it later tonight, Mad Monk. I'm gonna watch it later tonight, and then obviously we'll watch it. I'm gonna watch it. We'll live stream it tomorrow. The debate. So yeah, that was greener, fairer world. How many? Oh, we only got 3 left now. Oh, we only got 3 left. Okay. So a fairer, greener welcome. We welcome the contributions that migrants and refugees make to British society. We want to be welcoming, promote a social cohesion, and support migrants that put down roots. So Green MPs will push for an end to the hostile environment, an end to the minimum income requirements for spouses of those holding work visas, safe routes to sanctuary for those fleeing persecution, the dysfunctional Home Office to be replaced with a new Department of Migration, separating this function from the criminal justice system. Interesting. And an end to immigration detention for all migrants unless they are a danger to public safety. Yep. Abomination of the no resources to public funds conditions that exacerbate social, economic and racial inequalities, and those seeking asylum and protection to be permitted work while their application is being decided. Okay. Yeah, this is obviously the opposite. I mean, I'm assuming this is there. They're not saying a lot about migration and that, but obviously, create safe routes for sanctuary for those fleeing persecution. So they would do the complete opposite of what the British public are being manipulated to think anyway. So, that's totally understand. I understand why. I know the British public are being poisoned by what's going on with regards to immigration, but obviously this goes in directly against what people are being told about migration and immigration sort of stuff. I approve of most of these things, but the problem is that I don't think the UK would approve of it outright. These things, I don't think enough people would approve of it as much as I want some of this stuff. I just don't think enough people would buy into it. It's something that really needs to be talked down face-to-face conversations with people to understand. But we need more safe routes. We don't have safe routes. Ending the hostile environment. Yep. So I'm pretty much in favour of most of this stuff, but it's just again getting people on board for it is the problem. No recourse to public funds conditions of exacerbated socio-economic and racial inequalities as well, yeah. I think that's it. What is this here? Is this just telling us what they want to do? Yeah, so just the last thing. Vote hope, vote change, not green. Green Party been going from strength to strength. When we tell the truth, we aim high and offer hope. Voters respond. We've increased the number of our local authority councillors 5-fold over the past 5 years and are now represented on 170 councils as part of the administration on 42. Elected Green councillors use the powers given to them by your votes to build fairer, greener communities, and that's what elected Green MPs will do. In this election, we're aiming high. We urgently need more Green MPs to put the climate emergency higher on the national agenda, to resist and roll back the privatisation of public services, and to fight for the investment that desperately needs to amend so that it is broken and begins to create a fairer, greener country. Now it's over to you. Please vote Green. And that's pretty much it. And that's just obviously to donate. And that is their manifesto, guys. What did I think of it in total? I thought actually it'd be a lot. I was actually, when I went in it before, I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be a lot shorter. But actually, it's actually turned out a lot longer than I said. I would say about 95% of what they were offering is what I agree with and what I believe in. There are one or two niggles that I'm concerned about. Like obviously, that obviously so one of the niggles obviously is like getting rid of domestic flights when I don't think you could do it straight away, for example, especially with the infrastructure that our rail system has, for example. I think that's not ideal. Obviously there's the cost for everything as well, where it all come from as well. I love the idea of obviously it should be a foregone conclusion that everyone should be getting all kids should be getting free school meals. I love the idea of free bus fares as well for under 18s as well. Allows them to travel and get around for places and all this kind of stuff. There are some things in this manifesto that will be in the Labour manifesto as well when we get round to reading it at some point as well. But I think obviously the nuclear thing is the only thing I'm a little bit hesitant to kind of back sort of thing, because I still think I still think it is a deterrent in and of itself. I know it's dangerous to have them. I know it's dangerous to have them, and I understand the complaints about it. I really do. But I do think it's a reliable deterrence at times as well. But anyway, so yeah, what do you guys actually think of the manifesto? Just before we wrap things up. And by the way, I'm not gonna like switch over to watch the debate live. I'm gonna wait for it to end, and then I'm gonna go and watch it later before I go to bed. And then obviously we will watch it in full tomorrow at 12 o'clock, guys. Here tomorrow, Friday, 12 o'clock, we will watch it in full. I just need to find a link here for it, obviously. Let me just see what you guys are saying in the chat. It's been the most humane manifesto yet, says Stephen Banker. But Labour and the rest of the parties could and should do it, says Jow. But the Tories would never do it. No, and I went through their manifesto today, which will go out on Sunday. Sunday, 6 p.m. Is the Conservative manifesto I'll be doing. It's about 2 hours long. So it's actually shorter. It's actually longer than this one because I skipped a lot of it because it was driving me bonkers. But you can clearly see the text. That's the difference as well, the way I've done it as well. Nuclear energy is a thing of the ancient past, not of the future for several reasons. All nuclear reactors are thermal reactors, meaning they add to climate change just by running and need active, says Pedulous. Cooling means they need to be shut down when they get too warm, like last year in France, just one of many reasons. Yeah, if they're dangerous, then why have them? Why have them if they're dangerous? It's not worth it. Like wind and solar, why not just use it? It makes logical sense. Like, we are a goddamn island. It makes sense, yeah, for us to use the wind that we get. It just makes sense. So, reason why the seat system is not democracy for me. Nuclear power is just too dangerous, says Jow. Yeah. They need to get rid of the Scottish office. That would save millions, says Mark Wilkie there. Satru Hushi said, my membership is done. Where's Alistair when I need him? He's watching the debate, obviously, somewhere, so which is fine. Jow says, I know that you are showing their manifestos regularly. I was just pointing out a detail I think it's important and that perhaps they should talk about. No, you're totally fine, Jow. It's totally cool. You don't need to explain yourself at all. You don't need to explain yourself at all. That's totally fine. Well, they cannot join the... Yep, I've read that already earlier on. Just see what else you guys are saying. Talking about Murdoch, he married again with the Russian woman in her 60s, a scientific researcher from the circle of friends of Laputin. Coincidence, says Jow? Probably a coincidence indeed. I remember my parents getting TV colour, says Simon, says 55. yeah, those were the days. Those were the days. So, yeah. So that is the end of the Green Party manifesto page, guys. So what's next? So, guys, I will be back tomorrow at 12 o'clock lunchtime. Friday, 12 p.m. If you guys want to come and hang out with me and watch the debate that is going on live now. If you want to watch it with me in full, where I scrutinise it and point out who's doing well and who's not doing well and all that kind of stuff, come and join me tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We will go through it. And then, again, I will be doing another live stream later on that day at 6 p.m. So literally 6 hours later after starting that one. I'll be covering the Snowflake Corner, covering the world news and what's going on amongst the world. So I have quite a busy day tomorrow. And then, obviously, we got the usual stuff, content going over the weekend, plus an additional manifesto launch of the Conservatives as well. And I haven't decided yet, but at some point next week, I will be covering the Labour manifestos. I'm going to cover them in detail. I don't want to do them now just because, obviously, as you guys know, my voice has been taking a battering, not just covering these manifestos, but obviously these debates as well. So that's the other thing as well. So after tomorrow, Saturday, I'll be able to take it a lot. I'll be able to rest a lot easier because I won't be doing any live streams or premieres of videos or anything like that anyway. So, guys, thank you all for coming along. Obviously, for those who did come along, obviously, I understand it's a quieter stream because other people are watching something else. But thank you guys for coming along. Thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you all for coming by. Just to say goodbye to the guys here. They all say thank you very much for coming along. Hope you feel differently about the Green Party now that we've read their manifesto. But yeah, thanks, guys, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow. But just before you go, before you guys head out, if you can just do one last thing for me. if you haven't already, leave some comments down below about what you guys think of the Green Party manifesto in the comments below. Not here in the live chat, but in the comments below when the live stream ends. That we greatly appreciate if you have some thoughts you want to share with your own as well. So if you haven't already, please hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.